Alrighty, beautiful people, here we are. Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 2, Reaction. Hooah!
Whoa. That was my reaction.
Yeah, I think underwhelming for sure.
It's a very sedated whoa from me, for sure. But,
Yep.
I mean, I think the purpose of this episode wasn't to really wow us. It was more to make us, like, situated in our emotions and revel in the relationships before all the woeing happens, you know?
Possibly. I think what it was, well, there's two things. They're trying to build the anticipation for the big battle, and a whole bunch of people are going to die.
Yeah, basically.
People that we've known for 8 seasons are going to die. And I have, let's just say, I got a little list going.
Let's make our predictions right now about who's actually going to die. Because it's like everyone's here and we know at least some of them are going to survive somehow. Unless it's just total nihilism and everyone dies. But we definitely have some strong contenders. So who do you think it is?
Jorah Mormont.
Yeah. Poor guy. He's just always like, you know, I'm doing this for the Khaleesi.
Well,
suffers and then, you know,
it's all for her.
Yeah.
And survives Grayscale with the help of Samuel Tarly. And, you know, he's going to die. So, just saying.
Yeah.
Him.
Do you think Lyanna Mormont's going to die?
The little girl.
Yeah.
I don't know.
One of my favorites.
It's kind of weirdly. I don't know. I think she's a weird character overall.
What? How?
I don't know. It's like this little girl who's commander of an army.
She's like the last of the Mormonts now.
I mean, she's not even. It's not even a Joan of Arc kind of dynamic where she's like an adult, like a peasant teenager who leads a revolt.
No.
It's just she's a noble lady.
Yeah. Well,
who's 15 or whatever. I don't know how old she's supposed to be in the actual show. In real life, she's a 15-year-old actress.
She looks like she's 8. It's adorable.
And Gendry's gonna die for sure.
He's gonna do something heroic and
die.
Yeah, pass on.
Yep. And Jaime Lannister's gonna die.
Really?
Yep,
okay.
He's gonna die.
Because like
he's gonna die trying to save Brienne of Tarth from some sort of monstrous attack.
Like I see that their relationship is at first it was platonic and then it was something more, and now we're not sure because they don't want to act on their emotions too much because they're very reserved with each other. But yeah, I can't see them getting together though, and even if like after Cersei dies and stuff, so like one of them has to go. But what's interesting about Jaime is that this episode kind of seems like we were following his arc coming back to Winterfell. Like, every scene kind of was about him reuniting with someone. So we had Bran and then Tyrion and Brienne and that big, like, jolly scene by the fire at the end as well, where he knights Brienne and things like that. So, yeah, it was quite interesting. And a lot of interviews I've seen have been with Jaime Lannister, like Nikolai Coster-Waldau. So a lot of people are speculating like, oh, he's going to be Azor Ahai, or, you know, the big warrior at the end who saves everyone.
Well, I've said 3, so who do you think?
Okay.
They can't be the same 3.
No. There's plenty others to choose from. So Jon or Dany, I think.
I think it's more likely that Daenerys will die at the end than Jon. I think it'll be sadder, one, and they'd want to do that. And then also it'll be that line, "You deserved the throne all along." Some like bullshit like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna, if they do like another Ygritte thing where it's supposed to be like mirroring them, like where he's cradling her in his arms kind of thing. Yeah. So it's like, oh, woe is Jon, look at how awful his life has been. And you know, he's too sad to die. You know, he's always just been sad. Like, if he just dies, it's like, well, what was the point, you know? He's just always been like, yeah whatever.
It's kind of like, who cares, too, right? Because we've been following Daenerys' storyline since the beginning, where she is so utterly obsessed about becoming the queen of Westeros.
Yeah.
That Jon dying is actually kind of inconsequential to that huge part of the story.
Yeah, it's very true.
And the thing is that even if he was... Because now he's been revealed as who he really is, as the rightful king. So even if he dies, it's not like, oh, we didn't get the right king. It's like, well, we've only known that he's supposed to be king for like a season now.
That's true, yeah, because then the secret wouldn't really have a weight to it if he just passes on. It's like, well, that's fine. The queen we've been rooting for is still alive, so that's fun. Like, it's all good. We'll miss Jon, but politically it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think that's how it's presented. I think the only thing that I actually liked about this episode was that there was that scene where Sansa Stark and Daenerys are sitting in that hall together, and they're having just a kind of a girl talk, you know. We don't like each other very much, but let's try to work it out. And before you know it, Sansa's like, "What about the North?" Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so that just shows that Sansa is completely out of her mind, where she believes that so we're gonna defeat the army of the dead, so the biggest fucking calamity the world's ever seen. As if assuming that we survive the whole thing, and then we survive fighting Cersei, who's inevitably going to try to take advantage of the fact that the North is weakened, and then we're gonna have a civil war in it just seems so crazy. So I don't really know what her actual intentions are, but I think that they've made this last bit of story that's remaining that much more interesting because at the same time they might be trying to just add tension artificially, and they might not actually make anything of that. Like we could have in 3 episodes or 2 or whatever, changes her mind entirely and goes, you know what, all along you should be the queen. I don't care anymore.
Like Jon.
Yeah,
basically what Jon did.
There's some silly shit like that. So.
Yeah. It's funny that you have that perspective, because for me it was Dany who was kind of out of her mind, because you already have 6 kingdoms. Why do you need this big giant Canada without its beautiful natural resource kind of area? You know, it's massive. There's not a lot of people. It's more like Greenland, to be honest. You know, it's isolated. There's not a lot of resource. Just give it over. They're your friends. Jon's your lover for now. Just, you know, not stop fighting for all these things when you already have the most bountiful 6 kingdoms in Westeros. Yeah, well, this is because, you know, they might well. I don't think this is a good characterization, but it's kind of like the unstoppable force meets the immovable object. But I think that's more represented by Daenerys and Cersei than Daenerys and Sansa Stark. Yeah. Because it's not really apparent that they will be enemies, Sansa and Dany, but I don't know. Overall, I think the whole episode lacked substance. I was kind of bored. I thought it was very sleepy, sentimental, sappy kind of episode. I didn't really care for it. I was hoping that they were gonna jump to action very quickly, and instead it was just another, you know, it was like watching Dragon Ball Z, where it's just okay, we're gonna have a fight, and 5 episodes later, they're still building up to a fight. The fight lasts for 2 minutes an episode or something. Oh my gosh! And then it's over. Yeah. So they just keep on baiting you and baiting you and baiting. It's you know, come on, guys. There's only there's gonna be 6 episodes. So there's 4 more. Yeah, so they have to do a friggin' assload of stuff in 4 episodes, and they're probably gonna be the same length, all of them, right? Yeah. Unless we're gonna have a feature-length Lord of the Rings film worth of content per episode, which is not gonna happen. Actually, some of them are longer. But I think they're only 80 minutes or something, so it's not hours and hours, but the ones we've been watching so far have been 50 or 55, and they're going to go up to 80 minutes. So that's almost an hour and a half. But yeah, still, there's a lot to cover. And I think the problem with this episode, you kept saying, I felt there's a lot of tension between all these people, And they were having very surface level conversations, and they never really got to the point. Like when Bran and Jaime were talking, he's like, why didn't you turn me? And all the stuff, or like, you know, turn me over to them. And then Bran ends up saying, I'm not Brandon Stark. And Jaime's just like, okay, who are you then? But then the conversation never really goes deeper. Like if someone told you, like, I'm not this person anymore, and they're saying it in a very literal sense, wouldn't you just like probe further? So I just felt like it was very one-linery, superficial. Let's try and finish these conversations real quick.
Yeah, and that was one of the things too that I didn't like is
and so many of the conversations ended because they were interrupted, like Dany and Daenerys, and then Dany and Jon in the crypt.
Yeah, they're just trying to.
It's like, oh my god,
make the audience anxious, right?
Yeah. My favorite part was Lyanna and Jorah, because Lyanna is one of my favorites, man. And just seeing her in her little armor and talking to Jorah, and Jorah's like trying not to treat her like a kid, but also being like, can you please get to safety, because you're like our clan leader. And she's like, no, cousin. Yeah. Stop it.
You're like a 5 foot tall 15-year-old girl wearing armor.
I was squealing the entire time.
It's like, yeah, so I get it. They're fierce and strong, and yeah, you know, the dichotomy, these big burly hairy ass fucking men of her house.
Yeah.
And then her, it's like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
She's a fierce one. She's gonna die. You know, unless she turns out to be a complete prodigy when it comes to swordplay, I think it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, it might be another Shireen moment.
Yeah.
So sad. With the reveal of Don and Janny. Janny and Don. No. Jon and Dany. They were like switched in my head. Sorry. Do you think that's gonna happen? Like what's gonna happen with their relationship now?
Well, yeah, it's weird because, again, Daenerys didn't even mention. Well, you know what, Jon, I'm your aunt, but let's be king and queen.
Yeah.
Let's co-rule the 7 kingdoms.
Yeah.
And even if he says nah, it's like, okay, well, let's just be friends. Because I don't detect that Jon is going to suddenly go, I'm rightful heir of 7 kings. You know, he's not going to do that. I think that it's just going to be, I don't know. I actually don't know, so I'd rather just say no. Yeah. Actually, here's my answer. I have absolutely no idea. Let's just wait until the episode when there's actually some substance.
I think one good way to sum up this episode was, you know, the calm before the storm and before the battle for Minas Tirith and Return of the King. That's kind of what I felt with this thing. You know, with Pippin's song, with Denethor. That's a little bit before the Pelennor Fields battle. But Podrick was singing the song and everyone's, you know, having an emotional moment, and it's kind of like that. Yeah. And it, you know, it just kind of feels like, okay, this is the deep breath before the storm. But it was a very long breath. Well, that concludes our conversation about episode 2, Jenny of Oldstones, and we will be returning for the next weekly episodes as well, so please stay tuned on this channel and like, subscribe, and join us on our social media as well. See ya! If you like this episode of our podcast, you can follow us on our social media to get updates on our future episodes. On Facebook, we're at facebook.com/highfantasypodcast. On Instagram, we're at highfantasypodcast. And on Twitter, we're at podcast_fantasy. And don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube as well.